Yo, what up? How's it going? And welcome back for another video. Today's video, we're going to be doing a jungle tier list for patch 10.3. So this tier list is designed for what I'd call the average player, which is anybody in from silver to high platinum. It is what I would consider to be the average player. So this is going to be a proficiency tier list. So with that out of the way, let's get right into the video. Okay, now that we're into the video, let me talk about a couple things before we start talking about each individual champion. We're going to talk about at least one champion each tier, but let's go through the tiers and let me tell you the parameters in which I made this tier list, and you can use that however you want. So we have S tier, that's God tier. So champions that'll be strong in almost every situation. You can blind pick these pretty easily. A is going to be strong in most situations, still a strong blind pick, stuff like that. B is going to be solid. So if you really have an affinity for these champions or you see good situations for them, they're going to be very strong or can be just as strong as either of the top two tiers right here if the situation allows for it. C is okay, situational. So, that explains for itself. And then D, suboptimal picks. So these picks can work. And if you're very, very good on the champions, maybe you can make this work. But there's just better options for what they can do in the game right now. E is going to be bad tier. Probably shouldn't play these champions. Some of these, Amumu is fine in like silver, stuff like that. But probably shouldn't play these champions. And then F tier, you're inting if you pick these picks. Doesn't mean you can't win on them. But you're kind of doing yourself and your team a disservice whenever you pick these champions. Okay, before we dive into each of the picks, let's talk about what are the parameters in which I made this tier list. So I made this tier list based off of my knowledge of the patch and my knowledge of the game and jungle in general. I don't care about win rates at all, so don't at me with some win rate on Vi or something like that, saying that she's God tier. I don't care. I don't care at all because this is what I call a proficiency tier list. So win rates are very important. And finding trends and stuff like that, but win rates don't tell you everything, because Lee Sin might have a really bad win rate or something like that, but it's because 80% of the people who play Lee Sin are not proficient on the champion. So this is a proficiency tier list. So assuming you are proficient on the champion, then this is where they belong on the tier list in those average tiers between silver and platinum. Okay, so I think I explained the parameters all the way, so let's just dive into the pick. So in God tier, we still have Lee Sin and Elise, who previously, I didn't make another one for this, but you've probably seen her, both of them on God tier in a lot of tier lists that maybe you've been looking around at. So the reason why they're up here, even with the changes to jungle XP and to the Krugs being a little bit of a stronger camp, the best path is still going to be, the strongest path in the game right now is still going to be double buff and Gromp. It allows you to get on the map so fast. You can get on the map about, for people who are doing a talisman start and doing a talisman clear with Krugs, you can get on the map about 15 to 20 seconds faster than them with these champions most of the time. Not in every single situation, but you can get on the map so fast. And in this meta right now, early ganking seems to be really, really strong, especially people can get out on the map really fast, make some plays, and then can do some things in the mid game. Where the games usually kind of snowball out of control from there. If you've been playing a lot of games seem to go kind of fast or just snowball out of control from the beginning. These two champions, Lee Sin, Elise, have some of the fastest machete clears in the game and can make stuff happen very strong at level 3, which is where a lot of the action seems to be happening right now. And if you're very proficient on the champion, you can actually still make some stuff happen in the mid to late game and feel strong at all levels of the game. So that's why we have both of these guys right here. Okay, moving on to the A tier champions. So I'll talk about a couple of these. Olaf is strong for obvious reasons. I think everybody knows why Olaf is strong. He's super, super great at soloing objectives, which is very strong if you can sneak a Rift Herald, stuff like that. Or, if nothing's really happening on the map and you can get a dragon for free, it's going to be nice. Also has very, very, very quick clears and does very well with the machete clear and talisman clear. So whichever camps are going to be prioritized on this patch, Olaf can make it happen. And so that's why he's here right there. And then we have a lot of strong invading junglers like Graves, Jarvan, Zen, and Rek'Sai. So we have these strong level 2, level 3 junglers who do really well with red buff. So level 2 jungling right now, I'll talk about Jarvan and Zen, is actually pretty strong if the situation calls for it. So just going for a simple red buff into getting the mid laner's flash and then moving over and taking your Gromp and blue is actually a very strong strategy right now, because you can actually get a lot of plays off level 2 and not be set very far behind because of the value of how strong Gromp is. So you can pick champions like Jarvan and Zen Zhao and just go for level 2 ganks. If it makes sense, it doesn't make sense if you have no gank assist, but you can just look for the mid laner's flash, go kill your Gromp in blue, and then go back to the mid lane or the top lane if you blew both of their flashes and return gank with Zen Zhao or Jarvan. Base after that, and then Gromp will be back up, and you can do Gromp Wolves, and you're basically on pace, and you've done 3 ganks. You're basically going to be on pace with another jungler who did 1 or 2 ganks, and you did 3 ganks, and you're still going to be on pace because of how powerful Gromp is. So these champions are actually pretty strong, as well as a champion like Graves and Jarvan. The reason why I put Graves kind of in this section, even though he's not really a level 2 jungler, you can actually look for some invades pretty early if you have wall hops. So a champion like Jarvan and Graves have wall hops, obviously. You can actually set someone pretty far behind if you 3-buff them very early on in the game, and you can really kind of set it out of control. This patch with a little bit more XP in the jungle, it's not quite as strong, but still setting people behind early is a really, really viable strategy, especially if you can set them behind and then look for a gank immediately after it at level 2 or level 3, which is something Jarvan, Graves, and Zen Zhao can all do. Cool. Other notable things on here, I think, is probably going to be, I think Gragas, Rek'Sai, and Nocturne are pretty self-explanatory why they're pretty decent in the game right now. They kind of all do different things, but they're all pretty decent. We're not going to dive too deep on them. Ekko is probably going to be one that's interesting to some of you guys because Ekko did just get nerfed on this patch. I was putting Ekko into the S tier, just what he does for your comp, and kind of his variety and queers that he can do. He can even do the machete jungler queer, but with a talisman and still be sort of healthy, and do it kind of fast. So he can actually do the Gromp queer. And now in this patch, even though he got nerfed a little bit on his damage, he's a very good Krugs taker as well. And the Krugs got buffed as well. So I think he has a lot of variety. He also can inject AP into your composition if you're lacking magic damage. So I think he does a lot for team comps. He's a legitimate flex pick. So I think he does a lot for draft. And if you're really good at the champion, he can do a lot of different things, have big zone control. And actually is one of the very few junglers that actually scales really well into the late game. So that's why I still have Ekko pretty up high here on this tier list, even though he just got nerfed. Another one that's probably interesting to you guys is a Trundle. So Trundle is actually kind of low-key OP. So you can play 2 different types of styles. So you can play like the Blood Razor, go Blood Razor and press the attack and actually out-skirmish basically everybody in the game. And so you can do the super fast double buff Gromp clear and get a gank off before the enemy jungler even knows what to do, and they have a very little chance of fighting you at the scuttle crab. So you can actually get some big leads like that if you go that type of style. You can also play that same style in the early game, but go Predator and do a more supportive style, especially if you have like a duo. If you have a duo that you're playing with, especially if they're a mid laner, you can get off such easy ganks with Pillar and Predator. You can make some really cool stuff, and you could go like a supportive style. So if you have a buddy that plays Yasuo, you can get targeted Yasuo ultimates and play a supported style. So if you're playing by yourself, you can go that aggressive style or supportive style. He has a lot of varieties in his build. Even if you fall behind, you can just build support items, and Trundle still feels nice. It doesn't feel nice for you, but it's going to help out your team a lot. So that's why I have Trundle up on here, even though you probably haven't seen him being played all that much. Okay, B tier, we're just going to talk about a couple of champions in each of the next tiers. I spent a long time talking about those, but I feel like you probably want some explanation on why I think these champions are strong, and maybe if you haven't picked them up, maybe you should. Okay, and so let's look at our B solid pick. So this is in no particular order, by the way, so I don't like say Jax is way better than Master Yi or way better than Sejuani or anything like that. Jax is a solid pick, one of the few junglers that actually scale well and can utilize the machete queer, going double buff Gromp and get a playoff pretty fast. Or he's a very good full queer jungler as well, and with Krugs getting buff, can buff this type of style. So if you're not able to get some plays off, he has a little bit of a variety to where you can make some level 3 plays, or you can just get a full queer going, and with the buffs to the jungle XP, is going to feel a little bit nicer on a champion like Jax. Another champion in this tier we can talk about Sejuani. So Sejuani got kind of like a buff and a slight nerf to her armor, so she's slightly more squishy in the jungle because her frost armor will now fall off. If you guys want to know more about the patch, then I can leave a link to, I did a patch rundown, so you guys can check that out if you'd like to do that and learn more about all the changes on this patch. But she did get changed on this patch where she has more attack speed. So that means that she'll be able to do her queer with it quicker. And she's also a decent machete queer, so the double buff Gromp. It's actually pretty decent at doing that queer, which is, you know, the best queer in the game right now, the quickest queer in the game right now. Even with the Krug exchange, is probably still the best queer in the game. Or you can go the Talisman queer. So she's a little bit more squishy in the jungle. Her frost armor comes off, so there's more of a chance she gets counter jungled and killed. So if you're playing against something like a Graves, Jarvan, Rek'Sai, something like that, maybe won't feel as nice if they're going to be playing super aggressive. But in all other situations, actually her jungle queer got a slightly sped up, and she's actually been getting some buffs throughout the preseason and is a pretty solid champion choice. It's somewhat situational. I mean, she's going to be strong all the time as a team champion, but somewhat situational if she's going to be like super strong. If you have like a Camille, a Yasuo, Aurelia on your team, if you don't know how her passive works, but it synergizes with those champions on their abilities whenever they basic attack. And this champion is going to be very, very, very strong. So if you have a duo to play this with, like, you know, a Fiora, Aurelia, a Yasuo player, a Camille player, then this champion is god tier if you have a duo player doing that with. You can make some insane plays. Renekton as well. Then you can make some really, really, really insane plays. If not, this champion's still really solid. Another one on this tier, maybe we'll talk about, Camille. I think Camille's probably sticking out like a sore thumb because I think a lot of people think Camille jungle is dead. Since the changes to Camille to the jungle, making the machete queer very strong, Camille has actually been a pretty solid jungler. It can do similar things to J4, where you can look for that level 2 gank mid, burn flash really easy, make repeat ganks just like J4 and Xin Zhao. She also is one of the few junglers who has a wall hop at level 2, and so you can actually wall hop, and you actually beat almost every single jungler in the game level 2. If they're level 2 and you're level 2, with that passive shield, you actually destroy other people in the jungle, taking Conquer or Press the Attack. You can take Press the Attack for a little extra damage. Actually, pretty solid jungle choice. If you're not used to playing Camille in the jungle, it's going to be very hard to pick up at first, but if you pick it up, spend a lot of time on games, the champion actually does feel pretty nice in the current meta, and one of the few champions that actually scales into the late game as well. All right, let's talk about some situational picks. So we have Karthus here as situational. If you're in a little bit higher ELO, maybe high platinum, people are better at playing around this champion, and maybe this champion could be a B tier if it makes sense. But the reason why I have it situational is if you're playing in silver or gold, it's going to be very hard to play this champion. If you're playing in platinum, it's still going to be kind of difficult to play this champion. But situationally, it's a very strong champion. It can go into the A tier if you have like a Zed mid. Zed is one of the best combos with Karthus because you're going to have all the AD damage, and your team isn't going to be incentivized to build magic resist, as well as if you're playing with the Zed, every single time you see Zed go in for ultimate, you just press your R, and your Rs will combo together, and it's a free kill every single time. So a champion like Zed, if you can combo with a bunch of AD people on your team, this is a strong champion. Reason why I say it's really bad in like gold and silver most of the time, and even in platinum a lot of times, is people just don't like, your teammates don't respect that you're playing Karthus and that you're not going to be able to make plays like a Xin Zhao can, and they'll just turbo int the game and blame you all game, and your games will get out of control, and it doesn't matter that you have 30 CS on the enemy jungler, you're never going to be able to make any plays. So that's why we have him to see, okay, situational. If you're really good at playing Karthus jungle, then you can play him on all EOs, but it's going to be a little bit difficult until you get to like high plat, and still kind of a situational champion at the moment anyways. As well as we have something like a Zac. He's probably one of the best CC tanks. I'd put Sejuani and Gragas above him, obviously, but still one of the best CC tanks. You can make some solid plays, has a solid queer path. With the changes to some of the talisman camps, he's going to feel a little bit better too. Already decent at doing the machete style queer, even though you don't build machete on him. But a pretty solid champion if you're a tank player and you want to do that. He can still be pretty good. I'd put him at the high end of C tier, maybe in B tier as well. If you have a duo, he's very strong as well. Duo with other melees and stuff like that. We have Ivern in here. Ivern's actually a very strong champion, just not a very good solo queue champion. You really put the game out of your hands, and don't recommend, especially if you're in silver or anything like that, I would not recommend picking up this champion right now, even though the champion's very strong. The champion's been strong for a long time, but really just a stronger pick in high ELOs where people can actually make use of the utility on Ivern. Okay, so D, suboptimal. So we have Diana, Pantheon, Twitch, Ujir, and we have our big friend Rammus. Just in this tier, there's just champions that do better than what these guys do. So there's better tanks than Rammus who have better queers, better queer pats, better, they don't gank as well, but they scale better. There's just better picks than Rammus. Udyr is just the most useless champion on the entire earth, and there's just better auto attack queering farmers who can do way more stuff in the game, like something like a Nocturne can farm just as fast but can actually make plays at level 6 and is a real champion, right? There's just champions that do better than them. Diana, burst assassin, she's optimized for a solo lane, so it's hard to get XP on her to match up with what you want out of a solo lane, and the optimization's kind of weird. And if you want a AP assassin, AP burst assassin, just play Ekko or Evelyn, something like that. There's just better versions of these champs. Pantheon, same thing. Jarvan and Zhenzhou are just better at doing what Pantheon can do. And Pantheon's machete queer isn't quite as good as theirs, so they're just better picks than Pantheon is. Even though Pantheon overall as a champion is an amazing champion, it's just better played in a solo lane at the moment, so there's no reason to be playing him in the jungle over Jarvan or something like a Zhenzhou. Twitch, if you're playing Twitch in silver or gold, this is free low playing this champion. If you're playing in silver or gold, you can actually just play this champion and nobody will defend against level 2 ganks. It makes no sense, but you just kill people level 2, and if you're really, really good on the champion, then it's fine. Anything above gold usually, unless you're like a one trick who's been playing this for years and you can do all this great stuff, it just does a bunch of terrible things for your team, does terrible things for your draft. It's just not a very good champion in general. And if you don't get your level 2 cheese off and they actually have a jungler with hands and a brain, then you should get shut down very early and become a very useless part of your team. E tier, we have a Mumu and Silas. Just don't play these champs. Silas, his first queer is so bad now. If you can stave off the early game, he's actually pretty solid mid game, but just don't play this champion. If you want to play AP burst assassins, then play Ekko and Evelyn. Don't play Silas in the jungle. It's not very good. If you want to, you can, but why? And also we have a Mumu, just better zone of control tanks than a Mumu. A Mumu just waddles around the map and is not a champion until 6. You miss your Q, you can't even do anything. So that kind of sucks. So just play, if you want to play a tank, play Sejuani and Zac. Just way better zone of control tanks in the game right now. So just play those, or play Hecarim, something like that. Just way better than this champion. And if you like to int and lose the game and still lose the game for your team, then you can play Wukong and Nasus. Don't play these champs. They're really bad. They're really bad in the jungle. Don't play E or F. So in synopsis, if you're really, really good at Lee Sin and Elise, then these champs are going to be very good in the meta still. If you're not, they're worth putting time into, but just know that if you want to be a great Lee Sin player, you're probably going to have to spend hours in practice tool and spend like 50 to 100 games just playing the champion to really feel the true power of the champion, especially if you're kind of an inexperienced player. Same thing with Elise. You're going to have to spend a lot of time playing the champion to feel the power, but Elise is so versatile, can do so many things for your comp, so strong. Other champions are really strong. Olaf, Graves, Jarvan, Zen, all very good champions. Ekko is very strong. And then all the solid picks, if you guys want to play those are going to be fine. Situationally, the C tier picks are fine. Don't play anything D or below is what I would recommend to you guys. All right, guys, this video is taking way too long, so let's end it right here. Remember, if you didn't catch my patch rundown, I'll leave a card at the end of the video for you guys to watch the patch rundown. We're going to be doing tier lists for every single position on this patch. So this patch was really huge, and I think will really shake up a lot of things. In the jungle, meta didn't really get shaken up from the last patch, I don't think. I think it's going to be much of the same. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it. I'll see you guys on the next video. Make sure you watch the other stuff, the other tier lists if you're interested in that, and the patch notes rundown. And I'm going to see you on the next video. Bye.